Monuments honoring Confederate generals and other secessionist Civil War figures are coming down across the country as race relations enter a new era in the U.S. Kern County doesn't have any of those monuments, but it does have a huge landmark named for an important Confederate leader. 17's Robert Price explains.
Most people might assume, correctly, that the Civil War was fought far away and a long time ago. But there's actually some remnants of the Civil War right here in Kern County.
Some call them history. Some call them lasting wounds that unnecessarily remind us of our nation's painful past. Now, hastened by protests, animated by the death last month of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police, the outcry about Confederate statues and place names has intensified. Kern County has not cast any Civil War figures in stone or bronze, but it does have reminders. Reminders like Breckenridge Mountain, a 7,500-foot peak in the Sequoia National Forest east of Bakersfield that honors U.S. Senator John C. Breckenridge of Kentucky, the 14th and youngest ever Vice President of the United States, Democratic candidate for president in 1860 against Abraham Lincoln, and one of the nation's most prominent traitors. At the outbreak of the Civil War, Breckenridge joined the Confederate Army, was expelled from the U.S. Senate, and eventually became the Confederacy's Secretary of War. We don't know who proposed naming the Kern County mountain after Breckenridge and misspelled his name in the process, but we do know that one of his most ardent admirers was a dedicated secessionist, criminal fraudster, and virulent racist by the name of Asbury Harpending, also a Kentucky native who was at the center of the Kern River Valley's considerable gold mining community of Confederate sympathizers. But Harpending was not just a secessionist, he was an agent for the Confederate government. And why do we remember him today? In part because Harpending once wrote of his connection to the region, quote, "If the matter of paternity is ever brought up in court, it will probably be proved to the satisfaction of a jury that I am the father of Kern County." Colonel Thomas Baker might dispute that, the acknowledged founder of Bakersfield, who had served as a colonel in the Ohio militia 30 years before, but few actual man-made remnants of the Civil War remain in Kern County. A marker for the California section of the Jefferson-Davis Highway, a precursor to Highway 99, placed along the route by the Daughters of the Confederacy in 1942, is now at the Kern County Museum, although it has been removed from view. Museum Executive Director Mike McCoy understands the difference between preserving history and demonstrating undue reverence for its errors.
Is if you have something that's occurred that was nefarious or evil or considered, a bad historical moment, then that could go in a museum, but not out on public display.
Historic Union Cemetery is the other touchstone. 110 former Union soldiers are buried there, many in the section set aside for members of the Grand Army of the Republic, a fraternal organization of Civil War Yankees. And 19 veterans of the Confederate Army are buried at Union Cemetery, their graves cared for by the local chapter of the Daughters of the Confederacy. We don't have any Confederate statues to take down or preserve for that matter, not of Harpending and not of Breckenridge, although the city of Lexington, Kentucky did. The John C. Breckenridge Memorial, erected in 1887, no longer stands watch in that city's courthouse square. In 2017, the bronze-on-granite statue was moved to the Lexington Cemetery, where heroes and traitors alike rest in peace.
The Civil War ended in 1865, but in many ways it still continues even to this day, all across the United States and even to an extent here in Kern County. At Union Cemetery, Robert Price, 17 News.